Try This at Home is an AxFi Entertainment Group production, filmed on the mall in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at Public Media Network Studios in the Epic Center.
I woke up this morning, I could feel it was on the sun. The sunshine is golden red, a bluebird, blue sky. Lord, hoping it's right on time. You wait for me. Oh yeah, I can feel it alright. I can feel it alright. This ain't no back home. 56K internet and core Wi-Fi. It's the same old tune from long, long ago. So go try this at home. Try this at home. Try this at home. Try this at home.
We'll do this.
It looks like a candle.
All right, we're slating it, and that's unsafe. Being there. Sorry, it's liquid too close to an electronic. Please, I'll freak out the whole time.
No, my bad. I meant to.
I was having an anxiety attack looking at it. All right, one more time.
All right, here we go. All right, back on me, Emil. Here we go, running it. All right, so no, we'll leave that as our slate.
All right, to hell with it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Try This at Home. I am Trevor Penn, here with co-host Michael Queen, Damien Faust. Fellas, somebody tell me, what do we have in store for our viewers today?
We're actually going to be talking about wrestling the whole day.
Oh, yeah, brother.
No, I'm kidding. We were just having some pre-banter about the pre-attitude days of wrestling with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage that has nothing to do at all with today's podcast.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Today, actually,
Yeah.
snap it to us.
Slim Jim.
I wasn't going to say it because they aren't paying us.
Do I have to cut that out?
Bleep it out. Everybody else can.
Put a Slim Jim icon on it,
Slim
and just
Jim
be like, oh, we didn't know the
I can do that for you
connection.
guys.
Yeah,
That's fun.
So we're actually gonna I want to talk about a couple of things that we've got coming once we finish wrapping the season up of Try This at Home, which season one's almost going to be in the books here. We only got a few more things on the plate, and I wanted to talk about what we got coming next that isn't Try This at Home. It's our new shows, and we're going to kind of use this platform today to soft launch one of those, which is going to be called Show Me What You've Got.
Show me what you got.
Actually, in that same spirit, because I meant to actually throw this out in the opener, shout out to creatives who create. I've got a buddy from way back in the day in the trenches, sends me a fun project just last night. He was like, oh man, check this out. Here goes the thing I did. And it has a bar that just keeps running through my head because it was so funny. And
What's the bar?
And the bar says, remember, it's okay to rap fast. Just remember, you are not Busta, Twista, or Outkast. You are not putting out records like Bombs Over Baghdad. Like that. Remember that.
Dude.
Remember that. Shout out to Brett Gray.
That's a
my
great
guy.
line. That's a great lyric.
That bar had me rolling, bro.
Yeah.
So show me what you got, man.
Yeah,
Create.
so show me what
Let's
you've
do
got
it.
is when we bring music on to the show, what I'm hoping to do with it is if there's a music video, we're going to showcase some shots of the music video and ideally
Some B-roll.
Get some stems of the audio file so we can actually break down what's going on in each track and how that comes together in one song. That's what we're going to be kind of doing today is we're going to show you how our theme song happened. Actually, we have the project file here loaded up that we are all featured on. I played the bass for it. Michael played the.
What did I do? I did
You
guitar, right?
I did some guitar too. We both did guitar.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we both
I did some
guitar.
things. I promise you I did some.
And there was
Well, the thing is, we're interchangeable. Each
Yeah.
one of us plays multiple instruments, and so typically,
I'm irreplaceable. I'm the only black one. There are no other blacks.
typically Trevor is playing the bass, but for whatever reason, he picked it up that day. And
No, I'll tell you why, and I love it because there are so many things that happen. Right,
we were just screwing around.
You get a happy accident. You have a moment. Well, we had a moment. So we're sitting down. We're about to, actually break iron. All right, boys, let's dive in this project. Beat one. We've got our BPM set. Let's line up. Damien just grabs the bass like, nah, boys, I got that. I mean, literally want to. I got this. It was, and he laid down the most 90s sitcom. I said, wow.
That bass line.
That's
popped
it, boy.
even,
Right?
yeah.
Everybody in the room he sat the bass down like we're done. Right, build from here, fellas. This is what we
One
got.
take 2.
The tone already even remind me of the Seinfeld.
I don't
intro.
know how long that bass line has been sitting in Damien, but I know the way it came up, it had been waiting for decades. Like, bro, I was ready for this.
He was
moment.
like, it's now my
years
moment.
ago.
It was like a sleeper bass line. I'd never heard it before or known what it was, but that moment it took me over and said, "Here is where I'm going to strike."
So if we'll go ahead, actually, we'll start in that order. Meal, if you want to bring up the computer screen. So we'll start here and we'll work our way down, right? So the bass up at the top.
Well, let's actually
It's
talk
really rare.
before
Go
we
ahead.
get into the bass. Let's talk about the top, right? Those are a couple of things that are real important there.
Yeah, and we haven't really got to see or talk
Yeah.
about like the arrangement,
Right.
For instance,
So
arrangement view is
that's
something
actually that's very good. So going back to the computer screen here, let's just take in what we have in front of us. I will say I think this is great for the segment because we want to have you guys thinking in the right frame of mind, guys and gals. I don't want
Folks.
pronouns holding people up, right? But thinking the right frame of mind when you're just setting up your interface. Let's take a look at what we have. If we look over here, it's actually kind of off screen a bit. So what I'm going to do is drag this over, if that will work. Okay,
There we go. There's our info.
So here goes something that's very important. This is our info panel right here, right?
And we've shown this view a couple of times in Logic a little bit, but not with a finished project.
And I'm really just going over this on purpose to kind of go, Meal's giving us some more room. There we go. Okay.
Oh, sweet. Thanks.
But we're just from an overview standpoint, we got an info panel which has what we want in it as far as our track goes. We did something that was audio to video, so you'll notice within Logic you actually have ability to play back your video, right, and edit along as your video's playing back for you. So that's just a really awesome feature.
Yeah, but know this: you can't edit the video or do anything to the video.
No,
in
this is
program.
an audio
Right.
production platform, not a multimedia or video production
Right,
platform.
exactly.
And it's very key to know that.
is.
And then up here, these are just some very important. I love them. Some people don't even utilize them.
I
These are your
utilize
global
them.
channels. These are global channels. We have more than just these three. These are the three that I use. 2 if I'm not using a movie. But it's your key signature, right? We're usually doing music, so this
Yeah.
only applies if you're really doing
Yeah.
compositional music. And we have an arrangement, which applies. But when you're doing that and the ability to name, you can name these whatever you want, right? You can go in here. I could rename that to anything I wanted. You know what I'm saying? I could put in booty cheeks. And nobody stops me. They're boot cheeks, actually, because we're G-rated. Those are boot cheeks.
Those are boot cheeks. I'll
See?
clap for those boot
but
cheeks.
just but it really is amazing little things that if you use them, it makes your workflow so much more organized, so much more quicker. You can reference immediate measure, beat, significant points like for editing and for collaboration that you need. So just utilize those.
I
Please
like
do
using
utilize those.
So I don't utilize the signature one very much personally because I am prone to change that in the middle of a
Right.
song.
Yeah.
And also like change mode in the middle of a song too.
Well, see, now here, and this is why I love.
But I do
Logic.
use the arrangement feature a lot because it helps the loop functionality. If you're
It does,
trying to
yeah.
record
So
a segment.
if you're using one of those smart drummers that Logic Pro has, if you just create your arrangement up there and put a smart drummer in it, it automatically creates what sounds like a good chorus verse for this type of drum track that you chose, this type of smart drummer you chose out of the program. It just kind of arranges everything perfectly
Right,
for
yeah.
you. You might love it, you might not, but if you don't know where to start, well, there's a good place to start.
I'm trying
That
to-
is if you're writing a song, you just need some drums for it.
Here we go. No, I'm just trying to
But-
find it for composers like that, right? Because even there is a way that you can actually still have your signature here and actually have your key signature change on the measure. I just pulled up some of the comp. When I was doing actual like sheet music comp work, I forget where it's at, but there is a way within Logic, right? You can have maybe the key of A was there for only the first 16 measures, and then you modulated up to B flat. You could actually have it display as A for this many measures, B flat where it changed keys, time signatures you can change by measure.
So the time
It's really
signature is
great
one I
things
wanted
you
to
can
actually mention since it's not
time signature is
shown up there.
important.
You can also automate your tempo from the global track.
Yep.
And you can do that the way you would do any sort of automations, period. So you have a line, you put a little node there, you move it down up and this and like that. And the great thing about that is, say you have some sort of song that actually changes tempo. Well, how do you do that with your click if you're trying to record to your metronome the whole time?
Right.
If you need that to change, slow down, change to something else entirely. You can do it right there, and you could be as a musician still playing to your metronome. And when it's time for that metronome to change for you, then you can set it up there automatically to change.
Nice.
And as a percussionist, that's huge. That's really important.
It's really actually huge for arrangers who like to change time signatures as well.
Yeah.
And if you're,
which I do.
Yeah. Like if you're a musician who's watching this who knows, like, I don't know nothing about audio engineering, but I write an odd meter and I change those meters. The tempo setting and the time signature settings you can actually change and set the spot in the project where they change.
That's where you can, if you go from a 4/4 time beat to a 6/8 in the middle of the song, that's where you would change it in your global metronome. That click track will
automatically update on immediately on beat. Like you could just hit play. I love this function, to be honest.
Yeah,
I have gone up and I've pulled up, so at least we can see them on the computer screen. Here are all of the global tracks really you have available to you, right? We have the arrangement line, which is marker and arrangement are similar, except that arrangement is very much more confined. It does very specific things, right? And it's got some presets specific to music, whereas a marker is exactly what it sounds like. And then I can just go in here and label this whatever I need it to be. And it's also, I think you can put it to length, but markers in general just go to the end, right? You're usually just
or
starting
to the next marker.
I was gonna say exactly, yeah. Like you're just putting an initiation point. This is the cue of this. So this is good for my non-like music, but audio for video. Like it's just a film. Okay, this is the scene change because it's not to a measure and a beat. It just randomly happens.
Yeah, and
Markers
you can
are great
also,
for that.
I don't remember what the hotkey is, but when you have markers set, you can also just tab back to it real quick instead of, with your mouse scrolling back in the timeline and clicking where you want to go. You can just hit a button.
It is important for non-Logic users to note that there are going to be similar features for this in the digital audio workstation that you're working in.
Yeah.
They're going to be in slightly different spots, but all digital audio workstations are
Read your manuals, bro.
Very similar to one another because they're all trying to operate for a broad base of clients who are not just doing music.
When it comes to a digital audio workstation, reading the manual isn't the best for everybody.
No.
So you can always just find videos online where somebody's showing you like the basic breakdown of everything, or even videos where they get more in depth into how to quantize, practice, better practices for this and that, using whatever DAW you're working with.
It's a great practice to go through and actually read the manual, and I know it's not.
That's still a good thing. Yeah.
It's not thrilling reading per se, but if you do go through and read the whole manual from start to finish, then you know the full functionality that you have within your digital audio workstation.
Yeah, the guy who wrote the manual for Ableton Live came and did a speech at Western. I don't know if you were there that day or were even in that class.
No,
Yeah, but he came for one of our Max MSP special topics classes. Dr. Biggs brought him in.
Everything happens when I go abroad. I go study abroad. They bring it up.
Yeah, it was you when you were abroad. Yeah, now that I think about it, you weren't there.
But
you missed some good stuff.
But so jumping back on, because those are all valid points, and I think it's a process thing. Because I can say I don't honestly know if I've ever read, but for DAW wise, a full user manual front to back. But what I haven't. What I always do, but because it's just a lot, and I do want to know what's in there. But you'll get caught up in something that you're not even going to use, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So for me, I do always have my manual on hand, and I know the keywords. Like you learn your manufacturer, the keywords to go search the digital manual for when you need it, and then I will read that whole section top to bottom,
right?
Get it thoroughly understood, right? And
Command
that's
F,
the way to digest
baby.
it one at a time.
If you're not familiar with that hotkey, Command F. It lets you find things in a document.
Great. I've read like one manual start to finish, and it was almost 20 years ago. And I don't remember. It was Cakewalk.
Oh, Cakewalk software.
Cakewalk software. I read the manual for that because that's the first DAW I really worked in. Then they made Sonar, which I did not read the manual for because I had already gotten.
He looked at it and was like, "This looks really familiar."
I was looked at. Well, it was made by the same software designer, so it was like they had like a Cakewalk Home Studio and then Cakewalk Sonar.
I had Cakewalk LE and then I got Cakewalk Sonar.
It was one of those two things. But I remember I had the smaller version. It wasn't free. It was like $100, and then I acquired a version of Sonar that I could use on my computer.
He was gifted by the universe.
I acquired one too, and they both had the same inherent issues because that's when they were trying to switch to the same thing that Pro Tools does where your program won't work. It's demo mode only unless you have a physical flash drive that is it's your iLock, and you have to have that plugged in your computer.
Or the original version
the program will not work.
My program worked.
There was a way to get it to work.
Yeah.
But let me guess, were there moments where you were working on a bunch of stuff, you hadn't hit Command S in a while, and then the whole thing just froze and shut down?
Oh, yeah.
Not only could that happen, but even though I got into the habit of hitting Command S constantly, one time it happened and it corrupted my whole file.
So here's the thing. Yeah, I've had that happen
Lost
too.
the whole project.
Now, the group that I was working with, we actually did buy a full copy of Sonar.
Yeah.
We paid for it because we had gone through enough tragedy in the DAW using
I just switched to FL Studio at that time.
Yeah.
FL's my butt.
So
that
we
was
figured
my first one.
We were like, it's probably because we're using freeware and not paying for it.
Pretty
so
much.
we went and paid for it, and it still did it.
Oh, yeah. It had inherent
that one
problems.
hurts. That hurts.
So that doesn't happen in Logic.
No, we have come a long way in DAWs since those days. But back in Logic, right? Hopping back in Logic, when you've got your interface set up, right? The first thing we did, we came up here. We really had to pick the sandbox, is what I call it.
Yep.
Where are you playing, boys? Right? BPM, time is the ruler of all musicians. We all agree with that. You have to pick a time, and then we're all going to agree to stay somewhere within it. How we stay within it is up to you. We will dance around this puppy, but we got to pick a sandbox.
Usually, I don't.
That's
think,
your pocket.
I don't think about my BPM when I'm writing a song, because I usually start writing a song on keys or bass or.
And who said before we get started, turn your phones off? That was you, sir. And
Whose
then
phone
at
is that?
That was not my phone.
That's not my
Bro,
phone.
that ain't my phone.
I think it's Mills.
Oh,
This is Mill's phone. Hey, man, somebody named Jack
confused.
Urban's calling you.
I'm like, why is Queen looking at me with these eyes? Like, bro, I'm looking at him. I don't know that.
And Mills, ladies and gentlemen.
We love him. He's awesome. We love him, guys. Give him the round of applause. Don't we got a round of applause button? Give this man a
I
crack
don't know.
cheer.
what any
It's
of
one of
these
them.
ones-
Find it.
I'm not going to do that.
Guess.
We love our video switchers. They are awesome.
I was totally wrong.
That
I
was still just as good.
No, it isn't.
Let that play.
He gets a. That was fantastic. I was looking at Queen Heart like, I know this dude is not looking at me like that ain't his phone. I thought for sure that was yours. Like, y'all don't even know Jack Urban, bro.
Let's give a couple of seconds of silence for edit.
Oh, we're not editing that out.
I would love to not to.
Hell no.
I was like, I'm willing to, but I don't want to.
All right.
But no, jumping back in, guys. Sorry for that.
Well, to
moment
finish
there.
my thought, when I'm
Yeah,
writing,
yeah.
I start on one of those instruments and I don't think of BPM first, right?
Yeah.
The first, I get my lick or my progression or whatever I'm started on, and then I start playing that, and then when I'm like, oh, I'm onto something, I need to keep moving. Then I tap out my tempo. I play that for a few measures, and I think in my head where the tempo is, you know?
What am I going to say right here, Queen? Because I agree with this 100%, right? Tools, not rules. Like, that's one of those things when it comes to the creative process, start creating where you started creating.
Yep.
Period. And just build from there. And this particular
There's no
tracking
right or
project,
wrong way to do that.
Yeah, we assembled and we were just like, all right, boys, what BPM do you want to be? Let's feel it out. Somebody pulled out a metronome. We started tapping it, got a feel, this is where it's at, and then we went. But start where you start. It doesn't have to start anywhere in a particular place. When we're building our project, though, step one. Right. When we're actually going in to lay it down, let's get our BPM dialed in there.
Yeah.
Mila, if you want to pull the computer screen back up.
We have gotten cocky in the past as well on thinking we can get away with not setting our BPM beforehand, and then it turned into an issue.
Yeah, that can always.
One of us very creatively
It was
solved
me.
that
Okay,
problem.
it was me that one time.
Right. Well,
I wasn't going to throw you under that
You're
bus.
the one who
but-
got cocky, but one of us had a very creative workaround that fixed that problem.
Yeah, what was that again?
I basically had the issue was you didn't set your BPM and you recorded drums MIDI.
You heard
Yeah,
that right, people. The
electronic drums.
drummer did not set BPM and went ahead and recorded full-on drums and was like, this won't be a problem.
And
Let me
he
clarify.
recorded-
We had a BPM, but it was coming from your computer, but I was
Correct.
recording on my computer, and I
Correct.
did not set the BPM there.
Correct. But he played to us and we were playing to that click.
Yeah.
So
I
the
just didn't match mine.
The solution was to bounce your entire MIDI track in place and export that audio track
As audio, not as a MIDI file.
as a
if I
MIDI
remember.
file.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I imported it into the new project.
And let's explain
file.
why. Since I exported as a MIDI file, remember what MIDI was from our episode where we talked about MIDI. MIDI is recording information about the sound. And even though I played it, my BPM was set either way too fast or way too slow. So it also, another thing about a MIDI file is it can also record and have embedded in it tempo data,
Yep.
which you can then import. And when we were importing it onto his computer, that MIDI file, it was importing.
All the tempo data.
Well, it wasn't importing my tempo data. It was taking your tempo data because
yeah.
that was a global setting in his computer
Yep.
in Logic Pro. So it was using his global time, and it either I don't remember, it either compressed my drums or stretched them, but it was a complete
There's a whole. We
hot
won't
mess.
dive in that because there's
No.
when you run into those issues, you can sometimes there's a routes to resolve those, but that's
It just wasn't
complex
worth it
stuff.
at that point.
Yeah.
No.
So he did it as
Right.
an audio file.
But fortunately, I was like, I have run into problems before, and I think I know how to fix this.
Yeah.
Turns out that was the solution.
My bad.
Hey,
No, it wasn't a problem.
it's not a bad thing to be confident. It's just a bad thing to be wrong. Don't let it happen again.
And fortunately, you're working with me.
Hey. But yeah, no. So this was a fun track. Believe it or not, we wanted it to be simple. It came together. I think, fellas, we would all agree. So
Yeah, it was
one
like-
take, just do it, run
Yeah.
it. This is it. Here we go. But yeah, we started with bass. I think we laid down. Did we go to drums next, or did we go to electric guitar? Because I felt
No,
like
I think you
picked up
guys
the guitar first.
You guys put the drums in when I wasn't there. Like you had tracked the bass, I believe.
I tracked the bass.
just to the metronome, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
had to leave because I think I had some other. It might have
Yeah.
been Sean's thing.
Yeah,
I
something
don't remember.
coming
It was
up.
something
Yeah.
else I had to do. So then when I got back in it, you guys already had the drums in there.
So yeah, I mean, well, we had some, and this even is good to show. If we go back to the screen here, I'll just zoom in on this track, particularly the drummer track. Right, you're talking about simple saving times. We have real good drummers, right?
Yeah.
At our disposal.
Yeah.
But again, this project, what was it made to be, boys? Simple,
Simple.
right? Convenient. We want to be able to show it off in the show. Not a lot of trash going around. Here's a great
Yeah.
excuse about the Logic drummer, right?
Yeah.
It's not the most, this drum beat is not the most like, oh, snaps drum beat I've ever seen. But
Right,
when
no.
you're talking about we were making a 90s spoof, sitcom spoof,
want
and these
something
drums
cheap
are
and
like
generic
perfect.
sounding and-
Right. And
The-
also royalty free, I believe.
Exactly.
Completely
exactly.
royalty free.
Right. It's, I almost call it free because you paid your for your license from Logic.
yeah,
You paid
yeah,
more.
you
But,
do.
you ain't got to pay no more again.
If you're cracking a version of Logic, then you're gonna get.
Yeah. If you're doing that, then also maybe you should get a better job because Logic Pro's free. It's $200 for the full
$200.
suite.
And
Yeah.
you do get a lot with it. Let's be real. You get a lot of
more-
functionality.
You get more than
nowadays.
anything else.
The big thing too is unlimited licensing.
We're not sponsored or anything
No.
by them. We're not getting paid for any of it. We're just fans.
I'm about to say, I can gladly say I'm genuinely just a fanatic.
made
I'm
my life
Logic
a lot
fanatic.
easier using it.
I've been through Fruity Loops. I came through
Yeah.
Reasons, right? Pro Tools, and worked my way of Logic. And still more softwares came out. I never left.
I really like
I liked
Logic
it that
too.
much.
I love
just
the
say.
workflow. in it.
I'll use more than one, but typically I do a lot. I do almost everything in Logic.
I'm also comfortable with the. Sonar's not still out there anymore.
It is,
I'm
but
pretty
it's a
sure you can
browser
still get
version.
it.
They actually turned it into a browser version.
that's kinda
Remember when
cool.
we were trying to do that online collab, and I was like, guys, try this online digital workstation
Was
in
that
the browser.
Sonar?
That was what that is. Yeah. Now, yeah.
Wow.
There's apparently a paid version which may have worked better, but I was like, this isn't
Yeah,
worth
if
their
that's
time and
still
effort.
That
around-
may have worked better. They may have given you more features if you paid for it, but they
That's
might not
still
have. I
around, I
wasn't
can
sure.
work in that. I can work in Cubase.
Yeah.
I can work in Pro Tools. I'm not as proficient in Ableton, but that's the one I want to get into next because there's a couple of things I've seen with their, particularly for mixing.
Well, I think
Great.
every
It's
software you
amazing.
just named off until Ableton in
Yeah.
general are built on the same user interface.
Yeah.
What did Ableton do? Ableton brought in a uniquely, specifically different user interface experience.
Live
Like, it was
sessions.
completely separate.
Yeah.
So,
Which, by the way, Logic Pro now has a live session too.
Exactly. And now that it's all
Well,
in one,
there's-
again, more reason for me not to
Yeah.
leave that one.
Well, there's a couple of things with, like, if you look at the way you mixed your tracks specifically,
Okay, yep,
right?
so we wanna go
when
to
you've
our-
got your
mixer.
channel strip on your software plugins.
Oh,
See, we're going several different routes right here, right now, to find all of that. The way Ableton has it set up, as soon as you select the track, all your plugins are already in the bottom portion of the
Yeah.
screen.
Oh, right.
And you can also
It's like a
they
window that
also
you can
have like a
scroll
visual
through.
graph of what each one is doing. Now you do have a visual graph on each channel strip of the EQ in Logic when that track's been EQ'd.
Right.
You can see
And
that.
it shows you a little compressor. If you have a compressor on there,
Yeah.
it shows you the
well, at least the
reduction, too.
movement. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
but
what's
it doesn't
happening
show you, everything's little visual graph the way that Ableton does.
Yeah.
And those little tools are actually, they're nice to have when you're working on a couple of things. And I was like, for this reason, I'm going to try to get my hands dirty in Ableton eventually.
Well, my favorite thing about Ableton is that they bought the coding language that was used to create it in the first place, fully integrated it into the program. It is a separate program in and of itself because it allows you to create programs. It's very user-friendly. It teaches you how to use it as you use it, and you can create your own programs. Literally, the sky's the limit. They don't have to just be audio things. They don't just have to be video things. It is a coding language, so do with that what you will, and you can just immediately pull it up and use that thing right into Logic, right in Ableton Live.
I think MXP is a very real, as a coding language, is a very real example of this battle between computer people. And then whatever the people are, the thing
engineers
they modified, right? Well, I mean, for us, right? Like, 'cause if you can imagine, right? The first softwares that come out were computer people making digitized audio. It was crap.
Yes.
But then it got it wasn't the best.
The algorithms were fine. Right, the software worked.
The hardware wasn't able to process.
That's what I mean. When we're talking about user experience, user interface. When you think about design, it was designed by computer people. You give it enough time. Audio engineers came in and said, "Look, the program works. We get it now. You're right. We can do this on computer, but it should look like." Well, and then it looks like all audio gear.
Also, that's actually a really cool example too of how programming software has evolved.
That's what I'm getting at, is that so audio guys come in, it looks like audio gear, but then it goes back to computer guys and they're like, well, not everybody knows how to use that audio gear, not everybody's ever seen it, but they make it picturey, right? What they did is we made it a lot more graphic, a lot more visual.
It's the creation of the graphic user interface coding language.
Yep.
It was literally the first, and the guy who made it, I can't remember his name, but he's an independently wealthy idealist, so he wanted to make it completely free, and it was for many years, with him and 2 other partners. And him being a software developer wanted to make something. He wanted to bring musicians into the audio digital world.
Yep,
And at that time, this was like the 80s. It was coding or nothing. If you were going to be making anything worth anything. And he understood that musicians don't understand lines and lines of code. So instead, he made it to where these lines and lines of code are wrapped around an actual box. Yep. Where you plug cables into it, because that's how a musician and audio engineer's brain actually works.
Yep. Right.
You're plugging stuff into stuff to make it work.
Yep.
And that's how that thing actually looks. There's a lot of other coding languages with graphic user interfaces now, and they all kind of look and feel the same way. More and started there.
More of them are becoming graphic user interfaces rather than just line items or
Even Apple has one. And by the way, I'd like to say something to Apple if anybody from Apple ever watches this. Since they introduced the sequencer in Logic Pro, which they got from FL Studio.
Yep.
We all loved that in FL.
Waited 12 years for that. Thanks for coming.
Since they finally introduced the live session view, which is exactly set up in Axe and feels the exact same way as Ableton Live, there was only one reason to go with Ableton Live over Logic Pro now, and it's the fact that they have that coding language, and you have one too. It's called Quartz Composer, and you discontinued it several years ago. If you brought it back and integrated it into Logic Pro, there's no need for me to even keep using Ableton Live.
Was Quartz Composer a graphic interface already back then?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, true. Yeah, there is no other reason for that.
We would also,
if you bring it back and integrate it in, nobody needs Ableton
charitable
Live anymore.
donations to AxFi Entertainment Group for that amazing business development idea by Michael Queen here.
Right.
Thank you.
We would love to have that. But so jumping back in, right, when we're looking at building our projects, we want you guys to have a comfortable feeling of setting up, getting going, getting launched, and then being able to see what it looks like. Now, this project is done now. I'm going to slide it back over, so we won't be able to see our metering information bar for what we're going to see, but I want more of our edit, what we call our edit workspace, this area down here in view.
Yeah.
The key, a hotkey I'm going to hit is A, and that's for automation. And that's just to bring up so we can see there are different little things now that are actually happening in the background as this playhead is moving in real time, right? So what we called in the live sound days back, right? Ghost faders and things like that. This is the computerized, digitized version of automating a fader of different types. But it's not just fader, right? Most of these are volume specs. This one is actually a wet output. If you can see my mouse here, right? This is actually automating the reverb or delay, I don't know which one, wet output on this verse channel, on this vocal channel.
Oh, I heard that happening in there.
Oh yeah, you could definitely hear it. But right, so not to go too deep into it, right? But one of the main places you can hear it is you hear this very big space reverb. And what I mean by big space is, this is a reverb emulate like a stadium, a whole arena, this big space. But it attacks, sustains, and decays, right? Our envelope in perfect, what's the word? In perfect synchronicity. Synchronicity with our tempo. That is by using dynamics processing, dialing in our dynamics processing, and then combining it with automation, right? So we're levels to this stuff, right? Yeah. We got a raw vocal. It's a great raw vocal. We found a reverb unit we like. We went over effects. We got a reverb unit, but it's a big reverb unit. And how we know we're in a big space is because those spaces take forever to die out. If you've ever been in the mountains and you yelled, you can hear your own echo for quite some amount of time, right? As you're down the valley, because big spaces, the sound ain't got nothing to die off on. It's just floating around in the air.
Just gonna keep going.
There's nothing to create that Doppler effect.
And yet we've got a BPM of 130 beats a minute, right? As you can imagine, in that time space environment, it ain't moving ultra fast.
No.
But you don't want 5 seconds of reverb hanging out in the air. 5 seconds from the moment of a song happen is a long time at 130 BPM, right?
Yeah, it is.
So in that regard, that means you need to dial it in, right? You need to get the sound that you liked. It filled the space. It had the growth and the crescendo needed to make the moment happen, but I needed to cut that off, right? So when we see our automation here, we're seeing things like this, this background verse harmony. This is actually a shout out to Auto-Tune and Antares. This isn't the only real reason I still like the Antares series. I love it. Like, want to have it is the harmony engine.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I was trying to get these boys here to come give me some vocals, and they wouldn't do it.
Well,
somebody didn't show.
We were all really busy.
Oh, is that how you got that harmony?
Oh, that's how I got that harmony. So I had to go and do a couple background harmony takes and then create harmonies off the harmony.
My hand was just in your shot. Remember that too.
My face.
Actually, there's an inexpensive way to get something that's similar to it is something I've been using with my other band, Amaranth. We got the Neural DSP Tim Henson plugin, which is a guitar plugin that has a multi-voicer on there. And that multi-voicer has, I think, like a full octave worth of ranges that you can play with on there.
Really?
We actually loaded that plugin up to a vocal track and used that multi-voicer to create the same kind of harmony effect.
I've done something similar with my Digitech harmonizer pedal, but that's one voice.
Right. And also,
I need to know what that one
is. That's something like we're basically what we're talking about here is we're kind of in the mixing stage, right? We've talked about bringing a full project in, and we recorded all of the actual raw audio tracks or pulled in the Logic drummer tracks in waveform in there. Those were all done.
And we did have intentionally one MIDI instrument, so that MIDI was included, and we'll go into that as well.
Yep. So we had everything deliberately in there, this track for that, and we're basically in the mixing stage. And what we're talking about is what we were referencing in the last episode was we're in signal effectors right now on our mixing stage, and the reverb's a great example of that. But just because something is built for guitar, my Neural DSP
that's what I was loving about that.
Does not mean that you can only load guitar waveform on there.
Yeah,
it will affect
tools, not rules.
Like so truly think about your effects, whether it's an effects pedal, an effects plugin, and an actual effects rack unit. Don't think of it as what it was. This was made for guitar. No, it was made to modulate audio.
Right.
And if you begin to think about your hardware, your gear, whatever, from those type of lenses, you will more quickly be like, bro, we need harmonies. I got a harmonizer.
Yeah.
Right? Not that I have a guitar pedal. I have a harmonizer. I got a mono harmonizer. I got a stereo harmonizer. Right? I mean, but I love that. Tools, not rules. Be creative. Because I'm curious what that algorithm sounds like on a human voice. Right? Like these algorithms are made to optimize specific waveforms. So it was made for guitar in that regard. But then that's how you get this really cool, accidental effect or the subliminal effect when you take that and you throw it over human voice, because the human voice doesn't create. It can't do the same patterns and the same different little nuances in the wave signal that a guitar can.
Different.
It responds different.
Frequency house. It lives in a different space. In the frequency spectrum.
So I mean, and just have fun with stuff. That's a perfect example of like I'm not following any rules. This is built for guitar. So I'm
gonna do what I want. You ain't my mama.
I want.
It was like I was explaining to you guys when we had that. We were working on a track that I wrote, and you guys were like, "Why are there 6 guitar tracks here?" I was like, "Because no one could stop me."
That is still one of the most infamous lines. Because nobody was there to stop me. When you straight face look at somebody and give them that answer, something changes in you. You're like, yeah.
I put 7 layers of guitar on a track one time, so I will never judge.
They weren't
you for
even
that.
panned left and right. They were just
straight mono
Boom.
stack, bro.
Right in the center.
But
It's a wall of sound.
I do want to go down, and I'm going to actually uncondense this screen really quick on purpose to go into our WAV files here.
All right.
And I'm going to pick on myself. I guess I will leave it back like this. If you notice something about waveforms, even down on those, but those are really MIDI-generated waveforms in a way. But if you look at these waveforms here, can I get this out of the way more? No, I can't. I can slim these down a little bit.
Yeah.
You'll notice something very particular about every waveform in here except right here. I'm going to pick on myself because I was the audio engineer who captured this waveform. And when we talk about fat audio, this is why you want your peaks as far away from this center line. Let me zoom in really, really big and really, really in here. This center line,
that's a good looking
means
wave.
an equal silence.
Yep.
Right? The further away my loudest point is from this line is actually means the greater you can perceive all that I'm doing here and none of the mechanical and electrical noise that actually exists right here.
Yeah.
So
it's that signal to noise ratio that we're trying to increase.
And that's a really good
by
looking,
increasing the preamp.
So where your
signal.
screen was just right there, you can actually see it in the track above it too. Really great examples of 2 waveforms and things that we talk about when we talk about compression. If you see the chorus waveform above it, there's a really fat section where it's definitely, you can see the compression taking place right there to make sure that
in that particular case, it almost worked as a limiter to that degree, but that was for the way that I captured that particular vocal take. It was, I'm not a rock vocalist. We know this.
Right, yeah.
Let's
I know
not
you're
even
talking
pretend
about.
it.
That's see. After time, you can look at waves without even hearing them and know what's going on.
Yep.
And that's probably the place where you go, drive this at home. And then there's a little bit of distortion on the top of your voice because it's
and
clipping
also,
a little bit.
It's
but
also
it sounds
because,
nice.
Exactly, because you have to know what you're working with. And what I knew for the type of vocal I was doing, the microphone I had, I knew as long as my level was a certain place on my board because I'm comfortable with it, I knew mechanically I hadn't clipped the microphone, but I was mechanically clipping it, but in such a way it would give me what I want. It was an analog
little
distortion.
bit of fuzz on the top of your voice.
Not a digitally processed.
And only when you projected right there.
Exactly. I wanted that one characteristic on that one part of the line. And it worked out.
You know, we did something similar. I remember when we were recording, we were in Western Sound Studios. It was your project.
Yep.
I believe I was on drums and our friend Ashay, shout out to Ashay Fernandez.
Hey, that was such a fun project.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yep.
It was a Bill Withers song.
Ain't
no sunshine when she's gone.
Oh, man.
Well, what we did, I remember we put him through a Neumann U87 microphone, and we put that through an analog preamp and cranked that preamp. So that when he's singing and he gets that, should not let that girl alone. There's this
analog tube.
right on the tube. Yeah, because that
and
one's
we
a tube.
overdrove those tubes to perfection. It was
On purpose, though. It's
Yeah.
audio errors. It's not supposed to happen, but we know it will, and we want it to happen, and we're controlling those errors.
And that's the thing where it's like, if you
Using
have
them for
had
our own-
the privilege
for
of
the good.
working on the analog gear and you know your gear, you can do
definitely.
things other people can't, just like a musician can do with their instrument. Why? Because I know my instrument. I know my piece of gear. It's just the thing. Like, you can, maybe there's a way to replicate that digitally now, and I don't know. But,
well,
you know.
I mean, in my opinion, the way to replicate that digitally in the like guitarists are such gear snobs, like almost all of them, right? And I'm one of them for sure. I mean, having good gear is essential to sounding great, and knowing how all that gear works is essential to being at least a semi-pro musician anywhere. You need to have good stuff to play out with it. You need to know how it works so you don't look like an amateur on the stage.
But I will say, I'll take the guy with below average gear with wisdom level understanding and of their gear and how to work it over the guy with the freshest gear who's like, all right, but like, you know, I'm really new at this. I'm not that comfortable. Get off my stage.
That's my.
I don't even want you on my stage.
That's my. The point that I'm getting into there, and I've said a couple of times in this season, is the digital. This is so close at this point where it's not quite the tube analog emulation that you get from actual analog preamps or analog guitar amps or analog EQs, but it's so close and so much more portable that if you're a practical musician, Like I carried around for years a like 80-pound tube amp with 2 to 3 guitars, racks to carry all those guitars on, pedal bags that have all my cables in them as well. And I had a very specific sequence of carrying all of it. It took 2 to 3 trips in, and some places there's a lot of freaking stairs.
I'm about to say, yep. Yeah, that's
You know,
changes in elevation, bro.
If you're a local or regional musician who travels enough to play a couple of venues, you're not just doing things in town, you really have to start thinking about how much space all that gear takes up and whether or not you're going to have a van in the group or
whether or not it's even worth it in the first
Yeah.
place. If you're playing in a relatively small or even medium-sized room, you don't need the half stack.
You don't need the half stack.
You don't need the full stack for sure.
Right.
But you could also do without the half stack. Just
So-
get a little combo amp or
So
something.
my band
you know?
Amaranth, for instance, we have no amplifiers in that band, and we don't have a drummer anymore, so we're using backing tracks entirely. We can put
Awesome.
everybody's gear in a check-in bag
Right.
on a flight, right? And-
Nice.
And the only thing that, and I would probably, you can check your guitars so they fit if they're under a certain, maybe not bass
Yeah.
guitars.
Well,
but
as a
regular
special
guitars.
item, but still.
Yeah, but you know, you have to consider how you're traveling with all of that gear and how musicians have to travel, and that has always been something that is make or break. On
Fellas,
the bank.
I need to ask, am I allowed to bash somebody right now? Can I please
Sure.
bash somebody right now?
If we need to, we'll edit it out.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we definitely don't need to edit this out. Remember, musicians, guitarists specifically, any musician, but guitarists for sure. Take your guitar on the plane. Check it in, but check it in as your carry-on. If you only
Yes.
get one, that is what you
Oh,
carry
yeah.
on. And I hope Lufthansa Airlines burns to the ground.
I know this story.
Because young college kid going to study abroad, brand new hard travel case made for the dealio. I watched the lady put the fragile stickers on both sides. Don't put on the bottom. I fly.
That's an expensive case as it is.
I fly from America to Canada, Toronto, out to Frankfurt, Germany on Lufthansa. My baggage for some reason didn't make it from Lufthansa to Spain where I was going on time. A week and a half later, I'd be like, "Oh, your bag has arrived." I come get my bag, and my bag's in my guitar, and I see my guitar case is crushed, literally obliterated, crushed, and I'm like, my $700, $800 guitar is in there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the case is worth its money. Shout out to SKB Cases. Your cases are phenomenal because the case took all the brunt of it. It was done.
Yeah.
But my guitar was perfectly fine. And when I went for 8 months back and forth between Lufthansa. They tried to blame it on Canadian Air, except I grabbed my guitar off the Canadian airplane. It was like a little bipeller plane. Like it wasn't I grabbed and I put it in their hands. And they also, again, the lady, I physically watched her put fragile stickers on both sides.
Yeah.
My guitar conveniently had fragile stickers on one side of the case. And I'm like, bro, you had to take those off. And they never paid me money for it, never replaced it.
Of course they did.
They're a crappy airline. They ran a college kid around for 9 months, and then they waited till I was back in America, and they're like, "Oh, you're back in America." Then they just stopped responding.
Yeah, okay, so you're home now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not even on our side of the pond. We don't even care. So screw Lufthansa Airlines. I hope they burn to the ground. That is genuinely from the heart. I hate them for that. But no, get you a good case. Take your guitar on
You
board.
still have the guitar though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Takamine. It's a beautiful ruby red with pearl inlays, man. And it is,
That's
very
that's actually what I know that I recorded my acoustic guitar parts for that song on there.
With that guitar.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
was that my
that was
guitar?
with your
There you go.
Takumi, I believe. Yeah.
So then looking back to that acoustic wave file, I don't know why I didn't do it here, but one thing I wanted to point out, here's a couple things we specifically want to be looking at in our waveforms. And I want to show this from beginning to end because this is literally the beginning of the song here, and this is the end of the song here. If you look at any waveform, with the exception of this acoustic guitar file, you'll notice something very distinct from the beginning to the end of the song. And that is not every, but in general, you could say every peak, every high point is specifically to the same height. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That is our loudness. We want to be, when we're talking about playing consistent, there are dynamic changes all throughout here. You can see these curves up and down in dynamics, these crescendos and decrescendos in dynamics. But in general, there's a certain range of height, which actually converts to decibels, that we're actually staying within. We don't move outside of it. You want fat wave files that get away from the center line, so we're away from our noise floor, and you want them to be played consistent. Every note doesn't have to be as hard as you can hit it.
Right.
Rock guitarist. Doesn't have to be that, but it also, we don't want slap bass with Harry, whispery. That's too much dynamic range. That doesn't convert well. And what you end up getting is you essentially have to end up doing harsh compression to compensate.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to, right? In any general, I think as an effector, we agree at this table, we affect a lot of things, but our goal, unless for taste, is not to harshly do anything. We're actually trying to make it seem as unprocessed as possible, but just enough that anybody who's a human knows, like, nah, humans can't create that sound. Like, we can't echo ourselves. That was
Yeah, and I directly
enough.
credit you for truly teaching me that practice with compressors.
Thank you, sir.
Which is like the first time we actually hung out. We were both students in the same class. I was working on my first project. I was having a hell of a time with the drums. The whole thing sounded like garbage. And you came in to grab some files and was like, "Do you mind if you're going to take like a short break and I'll just grab this project I need off this hard drive?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." "Hey, while you're here, man," I hit play. I was like, "Can you suggest anything about this?" And you were like, "Okay, well, let's sit down." What I tell you what you did. Actually, what you did, you were like, take off everything, start over again on the whole mix, starting with the drums. And then my man sat there for 2 hours when he just came in to grab some files and go. He had stuff to do. Instead, you sat there for 2 hours and walked me through how to compress these drums and control it and make it transparent as possible. And that dramatically changed not only that mix, it was a great project after that, but it changed the way I approach every project when I get started.
Be careful when you do that. I am an impulsive person.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not saying that for good or for worse. I'm just mean like as a personality trait, I'm impulsive. And I can remember as soon as the words were leaving my mouth, after the fact and like in real time, I was having that thought like, ooh, like I didn't know Queen like that. It was like, he might take this the right way, he might take it the wrong way. Like you never know in those creative environments, and you want to make the right call. Thankfully, Queen's a cool guy, right? It birthed an awesome friendship,
Plus,
right? And going to
my project was admittedly garbage until absolute
he
trash.
goes, "Do you got any recommendations?" And I just said, "Well, can I see your mixer?" And I'm looking at the channel fader. And I'm like, "All right, tell me what you're doing."
It was a
like,
mess.
And the first thing I noticed before he even said anything is I'm looking at these drum wave files. And I'm like, ooh, man, it's tough. Okay, all right. And I look at his track header, and I'm like, he has a compressor? Oh, this man's like, I'm thinking this man's a G. Because I'm thinking like,
nope.
I'm assuming
I can do it with one compressor now, but not anymore.
I'm assuming, well, even then, with that file, you can't. You cannot properly tame, particularly that it was
with
like
that
the kick
file,
drum
I would probably
file.
at least need a limiter and one compressor, but definitely doing dual compression like you showed me that day.
Like that. Yeah, it was just a matter of
just smarter.
And I didn't understand, like, there were certain effect series choices that I was just like, I would never put this effect before that effect. I don't get this.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how to undo this. Can I just start from scratch? He was like, yeah, if you're going to help, yeah. I'm like, bet.
Just wipe it
Always
clean.
do this, right? Compressing, EQ, effect, like going through order. I'm just like, but you need two here. Particularly, here's a free gift to people working with dynamic instruments, being any percussive instrument, percussively played instruments, so slap bass, slap guitar, and certain percussive organs.
Something that goes from quiet to loud very quickly and easily.
And it is a wide range, like loud equals a very distant dynamic from quiet. Series compress, my people, and specifically in this order: peak and average.
You'll see average referred to as RMS compression.
You can see it as RMS or sum. You may see it as
some.
some.
Yeah.
That means
or the difference
averaging.
between max and some. Max is,
And here's why I can tell you your wave file has to be tamed in the order that it enters and affects your audio gear.
Yeah.
The
Control
first
the
thing
peaks
your
first.
audio gear hits is the transient.
Yeah.
That's the peak. And if you got wild percussive sounds, them boys got peaks. Your first stage should be a peak compressor. Tame them. And specifically, I'll leave that to creative taste. I won't go any from that. Just tame them. And then after that, now that you know your peaks are tamed, you can go in and do what Queen was originally trying to do with that one is he was trying to take a almost like correct me if I'm wrong, but
I'll be honest. I don't know what I was trying to do on it. I put that thing on there and I used a preset and I was like, okay, I think that sounds good.
So like the preset being overdriven, it looked like it was like something that was trying to do a summing compression and then having its metrics like over dialed in to compensate for the fact that it was like you got these extreme transients. It's like you can't. No. Turn start over.
Right.
But no, that was
Another good thing about that was also you had showed me to go before your peak compression and just have an EQ there cutting frequencies you don't want to pass through that compressor. That you don't want to be as compressed as all the rest of them.
Yep.
Not boosting things you want to hear, cutting things you don't. Before they get through that compressor, then maybe another one in between the two compressors just to control that a little bit more if you need.
Right. Pro tip. This was for that kick drum specifically. We had a few different mics on that kick drum, all of them of which were had too much, basically raw power being fed into the mic at initial. But so because of that, what it was is
there's bleed.
There is true belief, and I'm a firm believer in it too, that even though the human body cannot hear below 20 hertz,
you can feel it.
We feel it very well.
You can.
And also
we
not
can
just
actually
that.
hear down to 16 technically, but it's super hard to detect. But it is possible. But yeah, 20
what are you
hertz is-
hearing and what are you feeling resonate
Right.
type of thing, right? But then but what is true is that the frequencies below 20 hertz affect any sound that is making that like has a very
Yes,
true
they
part
do.
of its character
Right.
present in low frequencies. It affects it way more than you realize. And so when we were doing that kick, what we could see is that what you could see from our graphic equalizer is that we had to tame that sucker from 20 hertz on, and it was still climbing up beyond 20.
It was. Yeah.
So you can assume, right, we got to go in and we now have to form a bottom end of our own, right? We got to use some roll off filters because whatever's happening below 20 that we can't even see, I promise is hitting that compressor.
It
and
was
doing things
muddying
that you
it
like.
up.
Yep.
If
Yeah.
you're looking at your EQ and trying to track it by waveform, you're not seeing what's actually affecting your compressor. Like it's getting hit and you're like, my waveform's not even that bad. No, that's what you can see.
Yep.
Below 20 hertz, some stuff is happening. Monsters are happening down there because all
Yeah.
those frequencies are big,
Yeah.
and you got to go tame them.
Well,
and do what you
even
can
if you're
about them.
playing the thing about, think of a piano, for instance. There are frequencies on a piano that are technically their fundamental frequency is too low for our human ears to be able to hear. But yet if you play that, you still hear it. Now, why does that happen? That's because, as he
brain is
mentioned,
amazing.
Your brain is amazing. What you can hear are the higher harmonic overtones from that fundamental frequency. And even though you can't hear it, your brain knows that should be there because it's based off of the amplitude of all the different harmonies, not just the actual like octave harmonies, but the relationship of the amplitude of the other partials.
Yeah.
Hold on, like fifths and fourths.
Yeah.
And it says, well, I should be hearing this much louder frequency here, and it will literally replace it. And if you were to take a song, remove the fundamental frequency only, and then play that to your brain, and then sit in an MRI machine, you will literally see synapses in your brain firing as if it's hearing those frequencies, even though it's not possible
ones
for
that
you
you
to do.
remove.
That's why you perceive those. We could
That's-
probably do a whole episode about that in general,
that's
just
actually
sound and how the brain
something-
works with it.
Something that I was going to touch on, we talked about this, we haven't touched on in the series as a topic, is just sound and how it works in general. And these particular things that you've both been talking about, right, are the vibrations of the waves, is exactly why a seismologist wrote auto-tune.
Yup.
Because the seismologist fully understands how those things vibrate deep
If
within
you
the
want to
earth.
understand sound, the best place to go is to break it down to its fundamental, which is energy.
Yeah.
And as soon as you understand that energy is always in wave form, it's just a matter of the wave shape.
Yeah.
The world is your oyster, people.
Yeah.
You could do whatever you
Right.
want. You have unlocked the secret
You've
jutsu.
unlocked it, and then you go, "Oh my God, this is like one of the this is one of the deepest rabbit holes I've ever seen."
Oh, for
Dive
sure.
into your belong.
Yeah,
But
it's fun though. I love it.
Actually, I wanted to actually kind of give a cool little thing on waveforms to that note, right, or to that end. Complex waveforms, biological math is what I call it. It's math. If you aren't using math, if you're not good at math, get at least overcome it for music. If you're doing music,
For sure.
If you're not good at it, like overcome it, find a way. If you are good at math or indifferent, but you've never thought about your creative music perspective from a math perspective, you want to incorporate it. Like you want
Yes.
to, both from simple and complex relational math. But what we're talking about with the harmonic overtone series is a perfect example. The brain has heard complex sounds since your birth.
Your
so
brain
regularly,
does
so
the
often.
math, even though you don't
it
do it
knows the
consciously.
math. What he was saying of the different frequencies in the harmonic series and where their magnitude is. It knows the relational math of
Exactly.
dynamics of where that is
Right.
and can say, no, here is the next, because it's heard it in a bird chirp, in a dog bark, in the hum of a heavy engine of a diesel engine.
This happens
you
to
hear
animals,
these
too.
complex sounds everywhere, and your brain just does this relational math. Like this one's closer because of magnitude of dynamic of like our brain is doing some crazy.
Well, that's the
level
thing. It's
stuff,
not
bro.
just our brain. This type of processing happens in the cerebellum, which is before the auditory cortex, before any higher cognitive functions,
even know that.
period.
Like, what?
It's the same seat they call it the lizard brain. It's it's the same seat of where you understand timing and timing violations.
Makes perfect sense. I love you said that timing. Oh,
Timing and violations
And
of that
violations,
expectation that
man.
gets set up.
Yep.
And I won't go too deep into that, but that's where it first starts, and that's where this type of frequency replacement and understanding in math happens long before your cognitive thing. So therefore, animals, insects, if they have an auditory if they have ears, period, and can detect acoustic frequencies, this same phenomenon happens to their brains. Because when this was discovered, there's this book called This Is Your Brain on Music, The Science of a Human Obsession by Dr. Daniel J. Levitin. I highly recommend every musician pick it up and read it. You will be inspired. But he describes this experiment where they had taken the Blue Danube Waltz. They removed the fundamental frequency from the recording of it somehow. I don't know. I think it was like a synth. They used a synth. Right. And then they hooked up nodes to a owl's brain, a barn owl, and transmitted that directly to their brain. They didn't play music. They didn't play acoustic energy to its ears at all. They hooked it up directly to its brain, transmitted those frequencies to it, and they saw on the MRI machine the owl's brain was replacing the missing fundamental. And just for fun, they also took that signal from the owl's brain, retransmitted it through an amp, and what they hear is the Blue Danube Waltz with the fundamental frequency replaced. It's amazing that happens.
Man, science.
Science. I want to encourage it. Like, reach out to these places that don't seem to be involved with the arts, right? Like, that's a complete, nature thing. But if you delve into that world of it, how much audio?
It's what inspired me to go to college in the first place, by the way.
From that, so, you know what I'm saying?
There's a really cool series on Netflix called Design that goes through a bunch of different.
Oh, I love that show.
Oh yeah. So there's someone who said something that I think we need. It's STEAM now, not STEM. You need to get the arts in there, right? Because the spot where I'm paraphrasing, it's the exact quote, but there is a bioarchitect basically at MIT named Neri Oxman, and they just do brilliant work. Everything they do is dope. They're doing a bunch of stuff with bioarchitecture, where they're literally creating sort of animal enzymes, right? They're replicating those to make plastics that are made out of sort of almost living material that biodegrades naturally.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. So
I was wondering if that's what it was in the whole green space, and it is.
But one of her quotes that I absolutely fell in love with as soon as I saw it, I'm like, man, this woman may be one of the most important people on earth right now because of what they're doing. She said, the areas where design, architecture, art, and science, the spot where all that intersects, that's where magic is.
Yep.
Oh. Right?
Yep.
Ooh. Yeah. Because and she's right. That spot right there, that's what makes humans so special, is when you incorporate our imagination.
I think there's one thing missing from there, and that is actually there is a real spot, especially at that table, for cultural, whatever it is, cultural folklore, because it plays a very real influence onto how we perceive design and the arts and things like that when you add that.
But I think that would be, I wouldn't say it's missing. I think it's included in the art portion.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was meant to be included or not.
Because our artistic expression has typically been a reflection of culture, almost always, right? As much
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. So I think it kind of fits in there. But that quote, when I heard that, I was like,
that's brilliant.
Blown.
I like it.
It's and she's
going on
right.
a t-shirt.
I got tingles when I saw that, and also when I saw exactly what that team was doing in that
the multiverse of madness.
Well,
in theaters,
there's
June,
a very
whatever.
There's a very
We've all
specific
seen it already.
structure or department that she heads at MIT, where it has engineers with architects, with designers, and artists.
Yeah, as from an organization level, they are really thinking the composite of the professional or corporate team for some of these different design teams and research and development teams, and I'm loving it because you're right. They are drawing in from way different cross industries, and I think it works. They need to do that.
You get an artist who is creating with their brain things that don't exist right now, and you put them with like architects and designers and engineers, right? And they're like, well, actually, there might be ways that we can do that if we all work together.
Because they have such robust different backgrounds.
Yeah, and that's why humans are coming up with so much dope stuff right now, is we have the capability to just imagine.
I think create. Honestly, and I've been waiting for the business world to do this. I come from a military background. I know not everybody favors the military, right? They have their problems. Nothing's perfect. But I think it's what we finally done is what the military did long ago, right? Which what they learned is an army, like a squad full of nothing but, assault soldiers actually isn't the best squad. Because if anybody gets wounded, you're all screwed. So we need a medic in here. But then we got into explosive warfare, and then you learn, well, if the other team is using bombs and we send all of our team in there, and we got a whole team full of nothing, we lost. So like we found these different specialties that like if you've got one of these specialties from each of these or a couple on the team, that made a better team than a team of the same number of just any one of those groups. But in business, we stay for so long, and that pattern's like if you got an engineering team, everybody on that team is an engineer of that specific kind of engineering,
right?
And so you got the same results. But when you ran into problems, you had no solution to like certain problems.
You got
to diversify.
Exactly.
You got to diversify your teams.
You got to squat up like you're about to film a heist movie,
bro.
Exactly. Yes.
Or just a squad TikTok.
You got to get the bomb specialist. You got to get the lock pick. You know.
Yeah. But yeah, we're capable of a lot of dope things, and sound and the way that sound works is an example of how science is in the arts intrinsically.
Science,
you know, and if you're enthusiastic about both the way that we are, you know, you can be capable of a lot of great things.
Oh my goodness.
You can make magic, my friends. You can make real magic happen.
Yeah.
Science has to be involved in arts, and I laugh. It's the most laughable argument ever because its most fundamental definition, science, the word science means the study of. That's its whole most fundamental, which is the equivalent of the observation of. How do you even consume art except by observing?
By observing it in the first
it's like,
place,
bro, like you can't not science and do art. It's not even possible. They're the one and the same. It doesn't even make sense. But either way, okay. But back to our waveforms here. But so as we're diving off into energy and things, but
if anybody's watching this, I know this whole time you're like, will you just play the track already? Well, we'll get there.
They've
heard it already.
They heard
it at the beginning of this thing.
You're going to hear it play through, and
don't make us do that edit.
Hey, I'm the one who's got to do the edit anyway.
Yeah. Real quick, because I'm actually looking at the time, so and I wasn't paying attention, so we'll look to wrap up here in probably about another 10, 15. So I do want to dive into the MIDI. We did do some MIDI on purpose, which also even the MIDI has some automations, and I did that on purpose so that we can see, right, we don't just automate analog wave.
Right.
We do the same automations and things even within, right? Our note velocity is a very common automated thing. This is just data. Yeah. I didn't do this automation. This is automation data gathered by me. I played it on my keyboard, right? I played an organ across a MIDI keyboard. And what you're actually getting in real time, all these different little dots. Can I zoom in even more? I don't know if I can. I think all these different dots actually represent the independent velocity of every independent key a finger of mine touched while I was playing piano.
How hard he pressed that key, how aggressively it was played.
Right, because in converse, on an analog piano, there's no such thing as velocity sensitivity. Those of us who are pianists, are purists, we love it because it's called weighted keys. There's actual weighted hammers behind it, and that feels a certain way. One of the big disconnects between pianos, traditional pianos, and keyboarding was the original keyboards. They were like, yeah, well now they're not weight. Look how light these keys are. Yeah. But for a musician, muscle memory is how you got where you got.
Yeah,
the key weighed that much. You didn't think about
keys.
it, but you needed it to weigh that much because that meant everything to how much pressure and how you flowed from one key to the next.
Well, I think the way you have played is now has to completely and dramatically change.
Because there is no resistance to you, but it's really how fast, what velocity you decide to push down on the key then is what you're tracking. But it was just a way to change a thing. But just, we'll get out of that rabbit hole before we dive too far.
Yeah.
But we automate everything. And I don't mean like everything everywhere, but I mean like anything is on the table. If you think you want to automate it, automate it. Yep. If you think, can I automate it? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Everything
in here can be automated.
This is really where you can bring your track to life. Is in this stage. And one of the things I've been conveying with musicians that I've worked with who don't have the same recording experience that I do per se, and people are in different spots in their development that are like, wow, this doesn't sound right. Why doesn't it sound the way? I'm like, well, it's because we're listening to raw audio that has not gone through any signal effectors at all. We haven't mixed anything. We just have a raw wave file of exactly how it sounds in this room right now. We have not put that through our digital audio workstation, or if you're an analog workstation, to actually put it through all of the effectors we need to get a final mix that you're used to hearing.
Right.
And I said it before. If you're like, oh, I hate auto-tune, it ruined the music industry. No, it didn't. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. You just
People have their taste. If you don't like
You
it,
just
don't
haven't
listen.
figured, yeah.
Yeah, and whether
Either
or not
you haven't
know
figured
it,
out how to use it for you yet, or you just simply don't like it. And either way, it's
and
fine.
also
Right, hey,
there,
you don't want to
there
use it,
are,
that's okay. Keep it out of your life.
but
Yeah.
the reality is they probably do like it. There's a million songs that they've heard that are like, I love this song. Her voice is so perfect here. It's like, yeah.
It's just a more
It is
transparent
good.
use of
It
of
is
the
good.
correction.
It's just a more transparent use that you didn't pick up on because you don't know
Exactly.
anything about audio engineering.
Oh, yeah.
But don't not. But that raw signal coming in there is a lot different than what it's going to sound like when you get your mix on.
Yeah.
And this track is mixed.
And real quick for I hope there are some very, very beginners that are watching this, right? I want to
Yeah.
speak specifically on this one. If we're thinking of like why automation, I don't even get why I would want to use it. It seems like an extra step and hassle. Just think about it in the reality. I've been this live sound engineer for a time back before, when I was working for a church that didn't have ghost faders.
Yeah.
And the reason why we automate is because if you imagine, if there's a very specific movement, dynamic movement or like effect movement that needs to happen in real time while it's playing, we used to have to manually be on a pot, on a fader, on a knob, something, and manually make that move happen in real time. We made you inherently going to be off a little bit, so you're never actually perfect.
Yeah.
Automation just brought us away that, hey, I don't need to try to time that in time. I can go to the beat, to the bar, to the exact
Right.
dynamic levels I want, and I can make sure it hits it every time. That's
Right.
why we would automate. So we don't have to do something in real time while it's
Exactly.
going.
Until ghost faders were created, which is basically an analog way to automate your moves in there.
Oh yeah,
and
weird.
you're
Yeah,
not just
imagine being
limited
spread
to 10
across a
fingers.
32, 64 channel board, and you're trying to like get all three guitar channels. I mean, we used to practice like piano, like different hand positions of how to grab, like spread across, only grab the faders you need because this is the reverb, delay, and then the dry of the guitar, and I also got to make the keys move at the same time, and they got to go up.
And
But it's
keep in
only
mind-
for the solo for 4 bars, and we got to pull it back down. But you got to hear.
And keep
where
in
it is
mind,
the
this would be
mix.
after you had been bussing things near the master section to where you have all 8 drum microphones all on just 1 or 2 faders. You'd still have to learn those skills.
Yeah, because this is especially for drums, because rarely do you get the luxury of
That is
moving a
best
drum
example
bus.
of that,
Is you're
yeah.
trying to affect a drum within it, and like you have to go, and you got to be good because especially if you do a bus move later and you didn't get your independent level set back. I moved my bus up, and all of a sudden, it wasn't perceivable that the snare was blasting through on the last mix. But you got to the track 2 of the set, you push it up, and your snare is overhauling. And it's like, oh, you didn't reset that individual back. So just be careful. But it has places. That's just a real quick. Why would we want to use automation? Where is it? Like, what's a mindset that would make me think up to use it? That would be a good goal.
And if you're like, wow, there's so much going into all of these things that I never thought about with music before. There
Well,
is.
also think another use of automation is not just for volume. You can also automate an effect coming on and off. So maybe you want to have this reverb happen for a certain time and then cut off. And instead of running it through an actual reverb or an effects processor with a reverb in it and then turning it off manually, which is a way to do it too, you can simply have a software one in there and then automate it to shut itself off when you want it to.
And perfect example of why you want to do that even like in live settings too. Like there's a song I used to play in the Mushmen called "This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things." There's a music video for it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yep. And in that, I am using a lot of different signal effectors coming through there. I have a compressor, I have distortion, and then I also, for a certain section of it, have a pitch shifter, a delay pedal, and an octave pedal. And all 3 of those need to go on and off at the exact same time while I am singing. Okay. Yeah. And I basically positioned it in a way to where I'd stomp on all 3 once, and I didn't always get all 3 every time at a show. But I would get the next one so it didn't sound off. And all that has to happen in a split second. But if you embrace the digital, then you can automate that
every show,
Right.
so every time,
So
pedal
you-
switches were perfect.
So
Yeah.
and there is an analog way to do that too, right? Like if people are like, well, there's a way you can do that. I know.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
you
Some
put
of those
everything.
some of those you'll notice they, even if it's just like a regular pedal, it'll have a MIDI input
Yeah.
on it, input and output for that very purpose. You
Yeah.
can use your MIDI signals to automate things live for you.
Or you can buy
Or
at least giving
live
cues.
show.
an
certain
extra
cues.
switcher and program how you would turn those pedals on and off
Yep,
through
yep,
that switcher live too. But that's just more gear. that you're
Multiple
buying.
options,
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
to
There's
get
a lot
to
of
road,
different ways
multiple
to
roads.
do that. So. But yeah, live example of why you want to automate, because that's really hard to do live.
Fun stuff.
So then, before we wrap, right? Neil, if we could pull the computer screen back up, we've got our info pan. I want to touch on this really quickly, which is our. I know a lot of people get intimidated by a mixer, and I pull this window up on purpose. Let me get at least as much of it as I can in view. Don't be afraid of this screen, right?
Yeah.
Become comfortable. At least reviewing your mix from this window.
Yes.
Looking at all of your tracks side by side, because if nothing else, this is an audio engineer's graphic display. You know what I'm looking at? This graph right here.
If you are intimidated by this particular
This is a
section,
graph of the dynamics, right? A rough image of what's happening in my audio if you're following my mouse cursor over these fader headings. So get used to viewing all of your tracks. People love this window. They see their WAV files, right? They want to stay in this window, and that is the more friendly user interface window. But you need both. Especially as an audio engineer, you need to come comfortable with this, because there's a perspective you do not get in your edit screen. And
I'm going to share
this is the most blatant example
why you
of one
need
of
to
them.
get comfortable with this, right? Whenever so I tracked yesterday for a client that we have, and Michael had things set up in a particular way. I went to this view first as soon as I got there, because that needs to become your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Really, right? Because as soon as I got that mixing board in front of me, I could see, this is what he was talking about. This is what's going on.
That's why I didn't bother to put too many notes about that, because I knew that you would just look at it.
Okay, exactly. Right. And I was a little nervous, because it's like one of the first times I've tracked a band that isn't mine, you know, outside of this. I was like, what if I don't know what I'm doing? But as soon as I got there, I'm like, nah, man, I got this.
I tried to set that up as easy to understand by looking at it as possible.
Right. Yeah. And
try to translate from audio engineer to guitarist, but we made the jump.
Well, if you're a musician at this stage in the game right now, and the way the music industry works, if you're not just a hobbyist who's playing covers at a set, or just a person who's never releasing anything, you got to wear a lot of hats. You can't just wear one. Yeah. If you're a musician,
and
nowadays,
it's to your benefit.
You need to be able to work an audio engineering digital audio workstation.
You know, can we? I want to reframe that, because I agree with you 100%, but I intentionally want to reframe it. You don't have to do anything. You very, very specifically should want to wear very many hats, because it's like every bit of knowledge that I think we agree we have with this musician, audio engineering, things that I draw on from graphic art. Like when you wear these hats, you will get wisdom and find secrets you draw from them.
Right.
To do the audio task at hand, that you will thank yourself. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't know why it made sense.
Diversify your knowledge too.
Oh my goodness,
exactly.
It helps. You need it.
Also,
you need it.
I mean, I just want to advocate for the arts always, but all the skills that you're gaining from your art, you can actually put those on a resume as real tangible skills for it. Like, you guys both went to Western, and you both have your bachelor's from the MIT program, right?
Yep.
I don't. Okay, all of my experience is hands-on over the last 25 years, and I've got a working knowledge close to.
But what's that old or not old, but like the newer little argument they always say now is like, I graduated from college, and in order to get an entry-level job, I need 8 years of experience, right? It's like, so like, just because we've got the college degree, right? I understand. I love the point you're making is like, well, I got 25 years of doing it with my hands. It probably took him a lot longer maybe to learn certain things.
Definitely.
Because it always helps to have an instructor. If somebody else who already knows how to do it can tell me, great. But if I don't got it, doesn't mean I can't. And doesn't mean I can't learn it.
And there's also you know, those college courses are a great way to get into the little details that you might not think of when you're doing things in a hands-on process. So like, it's worth going and doing things both ways, not just one specific.
When you have the opportunity, if you got to take it.
But you know, if you're just going to school right now and you don't have a lot of practical experience, or you're getting a lot of practical experience and you don't have the you know,
you feel like you won't hit the bar because I don't have that.
Right. It's not true. You don't believe that. There are so many different ways that you can do things.
And also, may I say that if you are in the Kalamazoo County area, and you want, and whether you're a student or not, but you want to get that hands-on experience, there's a place for that. It's called Public Media Network.
Exactly.
And it's right here.
Oh, I didn't load up the thing. But I will never let it go without. You will hear my voice.
Damien feels vindicated now.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we had another phenomenal episode. We're going to come back in. We'll have a second part to this where we'll really dive in line by line, track by track, right, and kind of go through some overviews there. But we're going to sign off for now. Remember, try this at home. Michael Queen, Damien Faust. I'm your boy, Trevor Penn. We love y'all. Please like, subscribe, share. We out! That's it.
What's the difference between a literalist and a kleptomaniac?
All right, let's give him one.
I don't know.
A literalist takes things literally. A kleptomaniac takes things literally.
Commas.
So now
commas, grammar Nazis. And he storms out of the room.